My name is May, and I'm born and bred Singaporean. I left the country about, a long time ago, and I was living in San Francisco for about 13 years, working and studying, and ultimately found myself in Silicon Valley dabbling in innovation. And back then, innovation wasn't quite a thing. It didn't daunt the covers of Forbes yet, and my mom never understood what I did. I'm not sure if I'm alone, but I'll jump a little bit into the presentation, actually. What I found interesting is a trend. I don't think I'm alone, but I think how we've been talking about it has been somewhat blurry. A lot of it reflects what Tom has said as well. Show of hands. What is this? Like, anyone? If you will, I'm very silly here, yes. Go for it. A dumbbell. Exactly. So a lot of what I think is happening in this world today, it's that polarization. So we have the de-averaging of the world. So imagine this as I'm going to pull out the brand, Procter & Gamble. P&G, imagine Pantene. They go with the intensive marketing. You see Pantene shampoo everywhere, different variants, different hair for oily hair, dry hair, no hair, whatever. And all the way down to, they're sprinkled at every parts of your neighborhood. So you can find them in range and you can find them in reach. That was marketing, but you can't afford to do that. So a lot of brands you see are starting to be very tailored into, I'm going to do a very niche, particular, SKU, but I'm going to not blanket the whole market, but I'm going to choose specific places to place them in. And that's where you get the polarization. So that's where you get, a lot more efficiencies. And how does this actually reflect into in other industries? I tend to call this the disappearing ground, middle ground. And for other industries, we look at fashion. Well, there's the high-end luxurious. We all know this, and we love this. I do. Good quality, luxurious, and all the way down to an H&M. When H&M wasn't there before, what we have was a lot of middle ground, right? But H&M here, we have seasonal trends. What we have is really inexpensive options, and most importantly, for the masses. That designs for 10%, maybe the other one for 80%, maybe. Not sure. But who suffers? The guys with long production lines that are not as trendy, not as quick, and price points which are not as competitive. I'm talking a few brands such as the Macy's and the Gaps and Banana Republic, and we used to be consulting for them, and we see their pain because of the production line. So these guys are super fast, super quick, super trendy. That's one of the reasons why that worked for them. Same thing here. Luxurious homes, almost inaccessible to a lot of people. And what we have are travelers, right, who goes to whichever city, and now you can actually choose to live in whichever place you want with a specific price point. And it's accessible. And what happens here is who suffers? Bed and breakfast, maybe some hotel chains. But then the people who benefit are homeowners. There are a lot more homeowners than there are hotel owners. How's that? So that sort of democratizes access. Here we have cars. And there used to be ownership of a car. It's not just about prestige, it's about convenience. I can hop in everywhere I go. I can just go literally anytime, anywhere. But then there's Uber. So what we have here is democratizing time. It's not even about rideshare. It's about time. I don't go to a taxi stand anymore. I don't even know where a taxi stand was. When I first came back to Singapore, I literally had to call and go like, you need to tell me where to wait for you because I don't know. But now there's not a problem anymore because you know where I am. You come to me. I don't go to you. And that's democratizing, again, time. Even that, this is my world. I don't come from advertising, but I am part of Creative Shop at Facebook, and advertising is what we do. And TV commercials are it. It's just a big thing in general. That's basically what brands do. Most major brands have at least 2 TV commercials a year, at least. That's it, whether it's global or regional. What happens is, this is a channel, and you design for this a lot, and you spend a lot of money on this. There's no sound, don't worry. And you spend a whole bunch of money producing that. That's aired on one channel. And then there's Facebook. What happens is brands gladly take that, they plug it onto Facebook. And they go like, you know what, it doesn't always work. Yeah, it wasn't designed for Facebook, because the mobile audience does this a lot. Our fingers are the worst enemies, right? We literally. And because of that, what we could have done is that We've taken everything you've got, we sliced it in a way that celebrates main messages, key content, or benefits, or even the way we design for stories, the flip, platform-specific engagement approaches that make that work. And all of a sudden you go, voila, my content's great on digital. Why, yeah, because you designed for it. But that costs a lot of money, right? TVCs cost what, in the range of 100 to 150 to 500, sometimes even more, depending on who's showing up in your TV commercials. And what we have done is to work with ed tech companies, so robotics or other technology has helped us look at the different openings, different frames, and I've come up with that suite of assets, or bouquet of assets. There's a science behind it, by the way. I worked on this for about 2 years. Between $5,000 to $7,000. So that's a way to celebrate it. You don't have to go reinvent the wheel. Of course, you can do digital first assets, but this is what you've got, and there's a way for you to just leverage that tomorrow. Based on that, this was a big program that I've started, and thereafter I've managed to bring it globally, and Facebook is, we have like over 30 other publications globally just on this thing. It's called Pocket TVC. So what it is taking your assets, video could be web, video could be film, doesn't matter, and we celebrate it on digital, and there's a whole methodology around it. It's just public information, and there's frameworks around it as well. But that's the polarization. So you have the big piece, but you also need the masses. You can't keep designing for the 10%. So what's driving this shift? We think it's technology. Why? Because there's access. Everyone has access. You don't have to be in my market to see what I'm showing or what I've produced, but because there's technology, now you can. There's access, again, we talked about this quite a bit. There's demand. Everyone's on this phone. Doesn't matter what time, literally. Like after I put my kid to bed, I'm back on. Sometimes working, yes, but most of the time it's because it's just always on, right? Because, and we think about designing not just for the 10%. A lot of my dear colleagues come from the advertising world under the godmothers and godfathers of advertising. And we typically think about the great iconic Cannes Award winning. It's great, we keep doing that, but let's continue to think about what happens to the rest of the market that don't have access to that 10%. Think about the other parts as well. My teachers can attest to that. I'm not, but I'm very hardworking. So the reason why I was talking about me doing homework for a lot of my friends, because when I was living in the US, a lot of them were Taiwanese, and English wasn't their thing. I could speak English, not great at it, but I could. So I was doing a lot of concepting, a lot of explanation, but that made me better. Not necessarily the best, not the smartest, but better. So that was helpful, just so you know. Start doing homework for your friends. I'm not the tallest, as you can tell, so what I read before was that tall folks seems to do well socially. Socially, you just have better status. So I'm just saying, I'm just not that. I depend on heels to even show up on photos. I'm not a lot of things, but it's okay. At Facebook, we talk about this thing that you kind of need to get really honed in on the one thing you do really well, better than 1 million people, the one thing. Doesn't matter what it is, one thing. I think I'm this. I'm a graphic designer. I threw myself in advertising. I threw myself in innovation. My mom got mad at me when I declined a full-time job at Landor, and I went to SY Partners. It's like it's IDEO's sister company in the US, and it's doing innovation. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "No, I can do this. Graphic design, advertising, innovation, digital, same, all the same, kind of, in my head." It's important because 47%, very similar to what Tom was saying, of jobs will disappear in the next 25 years. My son will be in that category. I don't know what I'm going to teach him for him to be future-proof in general. But that said, there's a lot of articles, there's a lot of things we can learn, but we need to learn how to be adaptable in general. So I changed his schedule on him a lot on the weekends. We are going fishing or prawn fishing, and the next thing you know, actually no, we're going swimming. So you kind of need to be able to, I'm not sure if this is going to work, just so you know. I'm going to make sure that he's able to rethink what a great day looks like and replan at the moment's notice. 5 million jobs will be killed by technology in 2020. Same thing, but this was by Oxford, if I'm not wrong, just so we weren't convinced the first time around. These are categories which I think are ripe for disruption. That's a whole bunch, and actually there's more, right? So what I really want to talk about, because of my knowledge and I think my experiences, is media advertising. Sorry. Builds a bit funky. Perfect, that's a lot of typing. I personally am very interested in healthcare and the aging population. Just a big segue. I just feel that we are not designed for the aging population fast enough. By 2020, 1/3 of Japan would be above 65 years old, and I don't think we have enough services or products designed for that. If you go to a grocery store, entire aisle of baby products, there's nothing for senior citizens. And my dad's growing older, and then one day I will be too. And we have access, we have money, we have children who want to care for us, and we just need to design for that, just saying. So this is my world, advertising, media industry. It used to start with timely, useful newspapers. Then we go into highly crafted imagery through books. We have immediate imaginative radio, and somebody can tell you a story. We have sight, sound, motion through television. Then we have great films with narratives. And here we go with desktop. Voila. Everything shrinks into that small foot. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, decided that we are only going to focus on the mobile, and everything else sort of disappears. Desktop is important, but now mobile first. Because of that, it changes the way we design, and the whole industry has to shift. But believe me, it's not easy to shift an industry. Okay, I just want to keep watch of time, because everything competes with everything. In the world of mobile, your DR ad is competing right beside your brand ad. It used to be daytime TV was brand. At night, you see all the TV commercials, right? It used to be classifieds at the back. Brand ads are more in front. But on mobile, everything's mixed up. You can see a buy one, get one free coffee right next to beautiful house, for example. That's the reason why it's difficult, right? So imagine an ad, right? We design an ad. It's fine. Problem is we don't know if it works. Today, we can tell if creative works because we can measure it. We can measure different openings, right? Assumption is you have 6 seconds to build an impression, 6 seconds. And that's being generous. Technically, it's 3. And you don't need that much, to be honest. But now, this is what we advise our clients. Don't just do one. You already have that one. Add another 4 hours to your post-production time, you'll be fine. You'll be able to know what works better, and thereafter design better for your campaign. Uh-oh. Am I missing the clicky? Hello? Can you help me click it forward? Perfect, thank you. Was it you or me? We'll try it again later. Thank you. So when you measure, this is what you should think about in general. What's the distinct role of each creative? Are you talking about brand? Are you talking about the offer? Are you talking about the message? Are you revealing a new packaging? Whichever creative you do, don't just do different things for the sake of doing different. Make sure it's very clear what you're trying to test. You're trying to figure out what the views are. So for example, the one with him bending down in the center, that all of a sudden that views was great. Is it because it looks like he's discovering something? The completion rate, do you care if people complete your message? Just as long as you have brand and message up front, you'll be fine. Don't worry about completion. In general, was there a call to action? Is there a buy now, shop now button? So I'm going to do a quick test. I'm not going to play the whole thing. So typically when we do ads, we go like different openings, different story arcs. But as an advertising agency or with the relationship I typically have with them, we will do only one. And that's where I'll push. I'll push a lot more in terms of how many ways of story arcs can we design this for. So the first one is linear.
I'm John Smith.
Like I said, I won't play the whole thing. I'll just give you a sense of what it is.
Hi, I'm John Smith.
John Smith.
Nice to meet you.
John Smith.
John Smith.
I'm John Smith.
My name is John Smith.
John Smith.
My name is John Smith.
I grew up being called a sissy even before I knew what that was.
It was our opportunity to have our first Afro-American president. I wanted to make sure I was the first one in the poll. A white woman approached me and said, "I'm glad you're here early because I need you to move the tables." She assumed that I was the janitor.
I try to get into the bar and they don't like the way I'm dressed. But I see somebody else goes in, he's white, that he has the exact same outfit.
So this story happened. Sorry, I really can't play the whole thing. They will yell at me. This story basically goes on with someone's story again and again. So it's very linear. One person, one person, one person, one person. Assumption is you watch to the end, you get to the fourth person. If not, the fourth person is non-existent for most part. The second version of the narrative is distinct to a point. You know, it's sort of sorry, I can't even read that. It's more to the point. Let's just put it, leave it as that. Straightforward. So it already tells you what you're supposed to take away after watching 4 people's stories, right? I'm going to fast forward again. The third one. Almost stereotypical.
From somewhere else, yells out.
He's definitely thinking I'm too old.
Went to a Catholic high school.
Maybe a bit
in
more
downtown
emotional.
Brooklyn.
So where's the office?
The fourth one.
All I am is looks.
I'm John. I'm John too.
John Smith.
I'm John Smith. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm John
It's almost
Smith.
making you guess.
A white
I'm John
woman
Smith.
approached me and
I'm
said,
John
"I'm
Smith. My
glad
name
you're
is
here
John
early
Smith.
because
So
I
from a
need you
client's
to,
perspective,
move the,
sorry if
the
you don't mind the
tables." She
volume.
assumed
Sorry.
that I was the
This is where I
janitor.
talk all over
And I
my
have
own
been
word.
told
But no, yeah. So from a client's perspective, you go like, which one does best? I don't know. I don't have an answer because it depends on the context, it depends on objective, it depends on what you're looking to do. This did the
Been a
best.
challenge.
I mean,
Why?
grew up
Because I think it
being
was
called a
leading you
sissy
in. It was
even
giving
before I
you
knew
what you
that
needed to know.
was.
If somebody
You know,
picked up the
second
phone
grade,
and
like,
said,
I'm gonna have to get
I
my
want to tell you
dictionary.
something,
What's
blah, blah,
that?
blah, 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 blah. First weigh it out. Who are you? What is this about? That's all it is. In advertising, sometimes that's what it is as well. Who are you? What is this about? Versus like, oh, let me fill in the blanks. While it's fun, when it sounds great as a concept, it doesn't really work on mobile. So think about it. Again, this is not the answer. This is a way for us to open up our minds to go like, what else can we test with communication and advertising? We are always wrong. This is why we did what we did at Creative Shop. So because we test and then now we learn and now we know. Again, then we keep doing it again, a prototype and we test. What's top of mind when you're doing something new? You hopefully meet a need when you're designing a new product or new service. You hope to remove friction. This I've learned so much, at least from an internal perspective. If people don't buy into your idea, even internally, it's really hard. It's really, really hard, even if you have results, to be honest. Change behavior. This is what we talk about a lot. That said, user experience design. There's behavior going on here. And there's also a lot of planning and a lot of money, putting that pavement and blah, 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 right? I don't know if we actually managed to change behavior. In fact, I think behavior told us something else. And this is very, very predominant in terms of, it's everywhere. We don't learn. And what I love is the last one on the left. It's like, really? I'm not sure about you, but I will be so pissed if I have to go through that every single day. That said, I'm going back to what I said before. Do we really change behavior? Or do we mirror behavior? If we're designing for the 70, 80%, not the 10, we might want to mirror behavior just because people are doing that. So the barrier of entry is not as high. Like the TV commercial, like TVC. The TVC is already there. I'm not making you do another one. I'm taking it, using ad tech, making it work really well on another platform. How difficult is that? It's super easy technically. So the thought is, in innovation, we talk about changing behavior a lot. Unless you're designing for the 10%, maybe. Or you're Steve Jobs, perhaps. But if not, I think what we could start with is mirror, and then at some point challenge, and then change. Why would we need to adapt? Why? Because this is the traditional arc of storytelling. 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds of a TV commercial. I'll give you an example. In the beginning, it would say, boy was born, boy went to school, boy got married, boy died, AIA insurance. Hello? I love you back. Can I have that slide too? It's all the way down to, voila, thank you. Thanks. So towards the end, AIA insurance comes up, right? The main message delivers, AIA insurance took care of you and the boy. However, that is the mobile view rate. After about 5 seconds, people drop off, literally. Nobody would see AIA. They just saw boy died, boy went to school, voila, I'm going. So what's happening here is we have to redesign our messages. We have to bring that up front. If I were to do it another way, using the same content, this is what I'll do. AIA insurance, brand first. Boy was born, boy died, AIA insurance. Boy died, AIA insurance. Oh, okay, boy was born, he got married, he died, but it's okay, AIA insurance was there to take care of him. So you appeared twice, the front and the back, so you bookended really well. But again, if I only saw the first 3 seconds, I know boy died, and there was AIA insurance. That's all I needed. Same content, different way of thinking. So from a creative perspective, that's what we are looking to help shift the industry to think faster, think less than 6 seconds or even about 6 seconds or so. Desktop behavior, mobile behavior, what we have is 2.5 seconds and 1.7 seconds, same content. Behavior here, super fast. Your mouse, kind of slow, even on the desktop. So we need to create for people in terms of how they consume, not necessarily what we think is right, because that changes in general. Dear clients, they tell me this quite a bit. So from this, pick 2. It's hard, it's impossible almost, but we don't do that. We change the game. This is what we do. We design for skill, with craft, at speed. That's the digital world in terms of media and advertising, more so than everything else. We need craft. We don't churn stuff out that we're not proud of. We need to make sure that it's top quality, but we do it at scale and in speed. So that's mostly it. Adaptable. Let's all try to be a little bit more. And thank you.